Hello and welcome to the Authentic Online Marketing Summit, teaching you how to be true to you and your brand while making money marketing online. I'm here today with Jasmine Sandler. Jasmine wears a lot of hats, so to speak, in her work as a digital marketing speaker and strategist, SEO lead instructor, social media trainer, and as an author. Jasmine, thank you so much for taking time to talk today.
Well, thank you, Grace, for having me. I think this topic is spot on to what I do, so I'm looking forward to providing value. Absolutely.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. Why don't we get started with you telling us a little bit more about your professional background, what else you do, and kind of how you got to be where you are today.
Yeah, sure. So, you said a lot up front, but I'm actually fairly focused these days. And I think I'm focused because I've done a lot in the digital marketing space. So I'm here based in Manhattan. I'm sitting in my conference room right now, so hopefully you all can see me okay. I tried to pick a quiet spot, which is extremely hard in New York City, even in the office. But so I'm based in New York City. I've had my own digital marketing agency for about 12 years. And my agency is primarily focused on managed services in the digital marketing space. Anything from website design and development to search marketing to social media. And my agency at this point kind of runs itself so that I can focus more on educating and training people. And that's really my focus. So, I do a lot of speaking, keynote speaking, but primarily I'm known as a trainer. So I go in, I get my hands really dirty, I educate, train, I run workshops all over the country, all over the world really. And my focus is, I would say 80% B2B, helping companies, executives, and entrepreneurs use the web to drive brand, to drive business, to build reputations, and build relationships online so that they can then convert those relationships online to offline business. And that's my main focus.
That's really fantastic. I'm glad that you're getting more time in to really focus on the stuff that's passionate to you.
Yes, absolutely.
So you said that you've been doing this for, a significant amount of time. And, obviously the landscape in online marketing has undergone a lot of changes. What keeps you interested in being involved in this field?
So I think, well, that's kind of it. I mean, it changes. It's never boring, right? Because it changes all the time. Yeah. So you have to continually educate yourself, whether that means reading, writing, or speaking. I choose, even though I'm an author, I actually choose speaking. So, in my work as a speaker and as an educator, I need to first educate myself. So it's never boring. Things are always changing. I started off in this space. Why my first interest in this space was after my MBA in marketing and CIS. I really started to understand the intersection of marketing and technology and how they play together. And this was a really long time ago. And so I saw the seeds for opportunities to drive really e-commerce using the internet. I'm talking about pre-Facebook. I started and sold a social network. And, so there's continual economic opportunities. And anybody that knows me and my team knows that I really do enjoy making money and I really enjoy helping my clients make money. So I think there's always an opportunity in the space for economic growth. And I think that's what really keeps me interested. And then I would say, secondarily, the reason that I chose interactive marketing, because I started on Madison Avenue, but the reason that I chose this for the last, 10, 12 years is because it's a completely measurable medium. So, you can be accountable both from the marketing and sales side. So it's exciting to see, for me, I don't know if it's geeky, but I actually really enjoy looking at analytics, to see if things are working or not. It's exciting. You get to see how you're selling, your impressions, all these things. It's interesting, it's exciting, and it goes right to the bottom line.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I agree 110%. There is a lot to be said for all of the stuff that goes on behind the scenes and how immediate the
Yep.
impact is and how measurable it is. That's definitely one thing that a lot of people don't, I feel that a lot of people don't realize. Who has been one of your favorite clients that you've worked with in this field? If I may ask, if you're allowed to disclose.
Well, it's interesting because 50% of my clients are agencies.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting, right? So anything from branding agencies, SEO, other SEO firms, ones that are much larger than mine. So other social media companies, other PR agencies,
Mm-hmm.
traditional ad agencies that are placing media. And I think kind of across the board, I enjoy, and why I've chose to work in B2B primarily, and why most of my clients come from the agency world, is I really enjoy working with them because we tend to think, I don't know, tend to come to similar conclusions. We think through things similarly, meaning it's not just, it's my clients, the agency clients, they tend to think strategically. So I really enjoy working with them because when I'm on board, it's not like I'm a vendor, I'm a partner, and in the true sense of the word. I go to their parties, I go to their conferences, I go and I'll, if they don't have somebody that day to shoot video for them, I'll go and I'll go hear them speak. So I think it's really, it's hard to say because I always say this is my favorite client, I'm always saying that, but it's the people that I can really talk to, the ones that are, that think strategically, that really want to grow their business. They tend to understand the power of what I do instead of coming to me and not understanding any of it. I think those are my best clients because we can really run forward instead of stumbling there. So, there's a lot of agencies you probably never heard of. They're $5 million agencies, $10 million agencies that have been my clients that are, that I've grown with. But I would say, I would actually rather put it in a bucket and say, the agencies that think strategically are the ones that I seem to align with the best.
Thank you. That seems, it's a very interesting perspective to be able to look at not just one person, but a lot of people who are all thinking on the same level. And I think that's the best kind of working relationship you can ask for, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep.
So digging a little bit deeper into the summit topic, what does authenticity mean to you? And what does it mean when someone like either an entrepreneur or a brand is authentic in an online presence?
Yeah. Authenticity means to me, and this is what I say, I do a lot of training. I have workshops on social branding for executives, entrepreneurs, salespeople, whatever, right? One thing I always say that I really, really, really believe in is that who you are online is who your target audience should meet offline. I say that all the time. And to me, that's like my own kind of quote about authenticity, because the key is when you have a digital brand, you're just that, a digital brand. So people can't touch you. They can't feel you online, Mm-hmm. So like today, this video, you're not here in person with me. This is only a fragment of me. You're just getting to know me, right? Mm-hmm. So if we met offline, the things that I'm saying today, you could just take it with a grain of salt that I said I've been in digital marketing for 15 years. I've owned a social network, blah, blah, blah. But if you actually sat here and you had one-on-one time with me and you asked me all about it and I could tell you the story and we could get to know each other, that's really who I am. And so that's what I always, suggest to, especially executives, but also entrepreneurs, is that you want to really first do what I call a personal brand assessment. Mm-hmm. Before you go out and go crazy, building content, commenting, sharing things, mm-hmm. because you want to have an idea of what perception you're looking to drive as an individual brand, as a personal brand, as a social brand. So that's authenticity, like at its core. and everything then is a derivative of that. So your content marketing strategy, aligning with your market position, which I could get into, your digital marketing strategy, any of the efforts that you're going to put out there, whether that's networking online through LinkedIn groups or offline and bringing that back online, it really always at the end of the day should be that authentic brand, but the brand that you want to be.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I 110% believe that. So, if someone feels that, like say for instance, people who don't like being on Facebook, it's very rare to run into those people, I feel like, nowadays, but there are people who don't feel like they need a Facebook page because it's not authentic to their brand.
Okay.
Still suggest that they have that presence even if they don't use it as much? Or is it something that if they feel they connect more to a different network, that they should be where they feel their strongest connection is?
So a lot of my work as a consultant is social media strategy.
Mm-hmm.
So when I do social media strategy, I look at, the first thing that I do is review the business,
Mm-hmm.
as a consultant, to understand, what is the business, the industry, and then the people behind the business, right? And then most importantly is actually their target audience, right? So, when I first started my agency, and I actually started on the train, I have a whole story about that. So I wrote out my agency, and I kept like rewriting the name and writing like, what's the benefit? What am I going to do? And I drew out this little diagram for myself, that my agency was going to help companies find and build an engagement with an audience online. So the find part is actually the key, right? So if the audience is not on Facebook, which for my clients, that's not a conversion point, really. Most of my clients are B2B, so they're not really driving most of their business from Facebook, but Facebook is supportive, it's helpful. So what a person needs to understand is, and uncover, they can do it on their own, understand where is your audience online, and then your audience has multiple segments to it, right? It's not just your primary one-to-one client. It's also the influencers. The influencers can be the media, but they can also be your friends and your circles of influence. Mm-hmm. So before you make it like any hard decision about anything online, because again, marketing is an effort, it should cost money and time. So before you expend those things, you need to identify where your audience is. That is number one. And when I do strategy, that's where I spend the first 2 to 3 weeks of any digital marketing strategy for my clients. It's not something where, never have I just told my design team to start designing for Facebook, unless it was a very specific targeted B2C campaign. But, it's something that you really need to understand. Where's your audience and how does that tool work? All these tools work differently. From a audience, from an audience, Quora, all these social networks, primarily different. They all have different needs. So that's what I would not only suggest, but highly recommend that anyone does before they do anything.
And is that something that comes through, is that in the personal branding assessment that someone is putting forward? Or is that something that is just, something that they would have to do outside of that personal brand assessment?
Well, what I was alluding to before was talking about corporate social media strategy work, but in the personal branding assessment, that's part of that. Part of it is, I start with helping someone identify, not just doing it by themselves, but also asking their closest colleagues, peers, right, what their strengths are, and then I help them to understand who their audience is. Then from there, they need to assess, okay, where am I online right now? So take a look at your current social profiles, and is that supporting your personal brand, that now you said, hey, you know what, I want to commit to this particular position, or is it hurting it, or is it doing nothing for it? So that's definitely a part of that assessment on the individual online brand piece of it.
Okay, perfect. So now that we've talked a little bit about authenticity and how that plays in online, in your opinion, what are the top 3 qualities of an effective online marketing presence, and how big or small of a role do you feel that authenticity plays in that?
So 3 qualities, right? And then just so I get your question right, and then in terms of where does authenticity play in
Yeah.
those 3 qualities?
Yeah. If it does at all, if you feel that it does.
Yeah, well, authenticity it's critical to any personal brand online. So, but I would say that the 3 qualities that I think are critical would be, actually one would be design and your image. So professional design and image, it's just absolutely critical because, at the end of the day, people are going to do business with you because they trust you, they like you, and you're credible. I mean, that's it, right? So, the way that you come across in terms of your imagery, and I'm not just talking about how you dress and if your hair is done and things like that. Those things are important, especially if you're a speaker. But what I'm really talking about here is the design of your social brand online. So I'm talking about if you had a personally branded website, I'm talking about your LinkedIn profile. I'm talking about the smallest things as a headshot. Does it reflect you? Is it current, right? So it's extremely important that in the personal brand assessment, and then if you do commit to a social brand, because committing to branding as an individual online, I'm telling you right now, because I have private clients, they need to commit to $20, $30, $40,000 really over the course of a year if they're really looking to build business through a social brand, become a speaker, a paid speaker. It's not like you can just start it, stop it, or pardon my language, but half-ass anything. It takes an investment, and you really need to think about how you want to look, how you want to sound, what you want to invest in. I mean, you really need to think through these decisions, but it has to be done right. I mean, even in website design. So we do websites for personal brands, executives, and entrepreneurs, right? Mm-hmm. And we go through the web discovery process that we go through for an individual is the same as we go through for a corporate brand. So you have to be that serious in thinking about the professional design and the imagery. So that's like a number 1. I would say the second quality would definitely be your market position. So when I start working with a company, right, doing digital strategy, the first thing that we talk about, and I have them write down, is, what are your goals for this fiscal year? And, what market position do you want to take? Has it changed from last year? And then how are we going to build an online brand presence for you that's going to suit those goals? It's the same thing for a personal brand. You need to have some type of market position, So that's why, as you probably heard me talk about, my market position is I really focus on serving B2B companies, B2B executives, entrepreneurs. That's the position that I've committed to in a very big way, right? In terms of writing for 10 publications, which takes up tons of time, speaking for organizations, supporting people in those networks. It just takes a lot of time because I've committed to a specific position. And I can tell you that every single individual that's ever come to me for help with their LinkedIn profile or, personal branding, the usual challenge that they come to me has nothing to do with social media at all. They come to me because they can't hone in on a focus. And that has to do with the market position, that has to do with the niche, and that's where you start with personal branding. So that's a very important, I guess, quality, but it's just an important component of social branding. And then I would say the third quality, if you will, would be the content strategy. And this is really where authenticity really, really comes into play. So, a social brand or a personal brand online, for it to drive any impact whatsoever, you have to have a content marketing strategy, and you have to deliver on it. It's something you need to do every single day, whether that's a simple thing as commenting to more managed programs like, original content development, posting videos, infographics. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. But content fuels a social brand, and it has to be authentic. So I would say those are probably the top 3.
Yeah, that sounds like all of those are fantastic suggestions. Um,
Mhm.
I guess going from there, my question is, you mentioned multiple times that you do a lot of work with B2B and B2C companies, larger corporations and agencies. But what advice do you have for smaller businesses or on solopreneurs, people who are working on their own, who connect to or are inspired by the strategies that larger companies are putting in? How can they implement those kinds of strategies if they're like a one-person team or a two-person team, and aren't able to necessarily commit as much money as some of these larger companies?
Right, absolutely. So that's why, on the B2B professional services side of my work, a lot of that insight and recommendations I leverage in my products, my courses and my books and my speeches for organizations exactly for small business owners and entrepreneurs. So there is a lot of DIY out there that you can do. That's why I've invested the last 2 years in building these products, because I see that if a small business owner is either struggling or is just starting out, you need the keys, right, to be able to build a brand in a slow, methodical way based on particular investments and a return on investment. So there's nothing to say that they can't do it. So the first place I generally start with those folks really is I start with, and this is how I started in social branding to formulate it as a product and a service, is actually with LinkedIn. So I always recommend the first thing that I would have, a small business owner and entrepreneur do is to take a look at their current LinkedIn profile and assess whether it's working for them. Are they getting any business out of it? Or are they just getting spam out of it? Are they using it? When's the last time they used it? Is it current? Is it current headshot, headline, summary, profile, experience? What groups are they in? Are they contributing to the groups? They don't even know anything about groups, right? And I find that this is the lowest hanging fruit for these guys. And it's honestly a perfect, low cost place to start. If they're looking to build an individual brand, I'm not talking about selling products on Facebook. I'm talking about for these small business owners and these entrepreneurs to gain visibility around themselves to drive business relationships. That's where I start, and I think that that's a perfect place for them.
Yeah, I agree with that 110%. That was something, being in school, that I had a professor communicate to me like day one coming into my social media marketing class freshman year. They said, make yourself a LinkedIn profile. Like first day of class, make yourself a LinkedIn profile. It's going to be the most important thing that you make while you're here. And lo and behold, I got to senior year and I had another professor saying, all right, where are your LinkedIn profiles? And like 5 people were like, I already got it. And he's like, you guys are ahead of the game. So I absolutely, even if that's just of value for students who are coming out of university, I can't even imagine how much of a value it would be for, business owners and, larger companies to be able to have that kind of active, involved presence, especially with the groups. So
yeah, there's a lot to it, but it's the best place to start.
Yes. All right. So I know you kind of touched on some things that, that people are able to do if without a lot of money, but what is one thing that someone could do after watching this interview? They can go and do this right now and get themselves on the track to a more authentic, more effective online marketing presence today.
Well, and excuse me for coughing, I'm getting over the flu, so it's a good thing you're not meeting me in person. But anyway, so, I have these action plans and I have checklists on my website that I specifically created for small business owners, solo entrepreneurs. That's exactly who it's for. So I have a checklist, a personal branding checklist. I'm happy to provide that, or, you could just go to the site and find it. But anyway, so it's a checklist and it breaks down, specifically what you need to get in order before you can do personal branding. I also have a LinkedIn action plan that breaks down what you need to think about first upfront in setup, right? To daily, monthly, quarterly, and annually things you can do on LinkedIn. So I'm going to suggest that you go grab those things from my website because I've developed them like specifically for you guys, 100%. And then, I think out of that, there will be little things that if you don't invest in, you're doing yourself a major disservice. And I can just say like one very simple thing, because I do a lot about, helping entrepreneurs in my, my private training for organizations. I have a whole workshop on styling, styling and image. So one thing that I could say is really important is to assess your current headshot. I mean, that is the simplest thing to do. And I work with photographers all over the country, and this is just a simple, easy thing to do. But assessing your current headshot and saying, hey, you know what, is this headshot what I want it to be if I were going to put this on a one sheet, if I were going to have this on my website, if I were going to hand out my business card with my headshot on it, right? Because just hiring a professional photographer for a day, that can be the beginning of a great social brand, because they can do headshots, they can do body shots, they can do environment shots. I mean, I've done so many things with photographers that can be the beginning. And also it's exciting. I mean, I think most people are visual, so it's a good place to start.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
As I said like 3 times already, 110%. I think it's so visual branding is, I mean, speaking as someone who did graphic design in school, I think it's massively, massively important, and definitely more important than people think it is. People who are using those shots they took forever ago or low quality pictures, I think it's time for you to go and make an upgrade, as you said.
Yes, absolutely. And I wrote a post on this.
Okay.
On my LinkedIn writing platform, like, I don't know, 2 years ago. I'm happy to share as well. I interviewed a couple of photographers, and also, I'm involved with video shoots for my clients and stuff. So I wrote this post about how you prepare for that headshot. So I'm happy to send that out, because it comes right from the photographers, so you'll know, it just gives you that insight that you need to get the best shot. I think it's really important.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with that. And as we've discussed multiple times. So I think we're running low on time. So to kind of round this out, if people want to find out more about you and more about what you do, where can they find you?
Well, I would 100% say they go to my website, jasminesandler.com. On that, you're going to find literally everything from upcoming speaking engagements and workshops. So, I have about 20 coming up until June. So if anybody wants to come meet me, I'm more than happy to meet you guys. I mean, I speak all over the country. I have a lot in New York, obviously, because I just have to walk down the street, but I speak in other cities as well. So my upcoming speaking engagements, books, downloadable stuff, blog posts, there's so much stuff on there. But I also, if anybody really, really is looking to, they need help, whether it's like building a website or, hey, I want to become the next great speaker or whatever you want, and you want to get on the phone with me, on my site, you can just go on my calendar and book a free 15-minute Skype consult. So, I encourage that if you're really serious, but if you're not ready for any of that yet, just jump on the site. And, I write very manualistically. So I realize as a business owner myself, and as somebody that's built a business from nothing, that, that you need to get educated and you need a lot of tools. So I try to provide that on my site as much as possible, so that people get the stuff that they need, so that when they're ready to work with me, they're ready, So I would suggest that.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk, Jasmine. I really appreciate it. And for, obviously for being here and for sharing. We're going to wrap it up there, but I will let everyone know that Jasmine is offering up a video from her personal branding course. And there will be a link on this page or in this email to get access to that. Jasmine, thank you again so much for coming out and talking with us. And
thank you, Greg.
Yeah, and I hope everyone has a fantastic day. And we'll be seeing you soon with more updates from the Authentic Online Marketing Summit.
Thanks, everybody.